Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Monday Titan Talk, your only Titan Talk of this week.
I just bumped my knee on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, that's the worst spot for that to be.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, this table, I don't know how they intend people to sit at it because all of the legs are exactly where your legs would go.
Yeah, like if you were to try and sit four people at this table, like we actually have to sit closer.
Yeah, we'd be like squeezed together, right?
Yeah,
like I have a leg in my leg when I'm sitting here like I normally do. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Turkey Day. Well, Turkey Day is coming up in just a few days. So this is our only Titan Talk of the week. So we're going to give kind of a little bit of a preview of some of the things that are going to be coming in terms of balance. It's not necessarily the final list, but we want to get your feedback on it now, which is why we're talking through it now. And also how some of our matchmaking experiments are going and some of our earlier balance experiments are going.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on today and being a part of this.
Yeah, I should have pulled agility relic numbers.
Oh, you should have.
Yeah, I can maybe post that later, just because it's interesting.
Sweet. So did I get a haircut or shave my beard? Yes, I trimmed my hair and my beard down to a more reasonable length. Thank you for noticing, chat. Where do you want to start? What's the best place to kick things off?
Let's start. I guess let's start with the balance. The balance is probably the thing
new,
that
the new balance?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let me
we just tried to lock in quite a lot of it today. Clumsy's in the chat. I don't know if we actually decided on, so spoilers, Daji is getting a nerf. I think we're trying to figure out if we're doing that in a hotfix or not.
Okay. I'm going to push the magic button here and take us to the handy dandy desktop. So this is the stuff that we have planned for the next major update.
Yeah.
So let's...
It is I will preface, it is a lighter patch. OB23 was big kind of because a whole bunch of things collided to make it big.
Yeah.
OB24 is happening literally during Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
So there's some limiting factor there, and I think we ended up banking some more stuff for OB25. So OB24 is just going to be, I think, a smaller balance patch.
Cool.
Doesn't mean it won't have important stuff in it, but it's just going to be not as big.
But we definitely want your feedback on it, which is why we're talking about it now, because we got to lock things in with Thanksgiving coming up. So first note for Assault.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it might be a better idea.
Okay.
This My 2 balance doc is a very powerful doc.
It is.
It might be better to just copy paste that into like a new doc.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in that doc.
Just the OB24 stuff.
It's a very powerful doc.
Okay.
Clumsy is right. It is straight. It's terrifying to be straight up in that doc.
Okay. Y'all.
Because you'll also get my random notes of just like my random 2 a.m. brainstorm note that I jotted down that is absolutely a terrible idea. And I don't know if we want people seeing that and thinking that that was like going to go
Yeah.
in.
It's because it's kind of a brainstorming doc, I guess, to some extent, right?
Yeah, it is also brainstorming. We have like our locked notes there.
Okay.
But we also have like brainstorming and future patch stuff.
Okay, I'm going to go back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Aha,
We're in a separate untitled document
Whew, okay.
to just look at OB24 section. So first thing, Assault. We are adjusting the healer tiers based on their potential top-end healing as a god, as aspects can create big disparities.
Yeah, this was an interesting discussion we had with the ambassadors, just because healer tiers came up again because raw buff in particular was a point of discussion.
Yeah.
And so I actually ran the numbers, and when you look at just average healing, these tiers I think largely make the most sense. This is actually how they would generally fall. But Guan Yu aspect healed 38k on average. Whereas non-aspect healed 15k on average.
Wow.
So you have big disparities, and so there's a lot of discussion. We even like talked a little bit like, what if you actually also randomly roll your aspect, so you're locked into like a Guan Yu aspect? It's probably too much locking in.
Some people didn't like that
Some people
pitch.
didn't like that pitch, right? So like, if we're gonna have healer tiers, it's probably best to put them in the tier that is lining up with their highest potential.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a raw, you should probably play aspect for your team.
Same with Guan.
Same with Guan. You should probably play an aspect for your team, because that's just the most sane adjustment for Assault healer tiers that we had.
Yeah, and I saw somebody saying about the Baron change. I don't know if they liked it or not liked it, but one of the reasons I saw the conversation is it is a lot more conditional, right? You have to hit the 2. You can't just like hang back with your team and heal them up to full.
Yeah, and if you look at the actual average healing, Baron ends up being lower. Like Umoja was way higher in her tier based off her healing potential. So
cool. Moving on. Quick play joust. We are decreasing the respawn times just slightly here.
Yeah.
Tell us what this means.
Yeah, essentially this is just quick play joust. It's a mode that's meant to be a lot faster paced. The respawn times are getting a little bit long there, so we just want to make sure that those are tempered down. So just you'll respawn more quickly. Your maximum will end up being a little bit lower, just so you can get back into the fray and fight some more.
Awesome. Talisman and Purification. Fix an issue where the caster could not benefit from CC immunity if you were temporarily untargetable. For example, falling from Giannis portal.
Yeah, this actually did a big AoE check, and actually, if you were the caster of Talisman of Purification, it just wouldn't target you.
Well, that's weird.
It just seemed weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. We are buffing Leather Cowl and Hunter's Cowl. Leather Cowl will be 50 gold less. Hunter's Cowl will have 10 strength more.
Yeah, our goal right now for this and Sharpshooters next is Death's Toll is definitely the dominant Hunter starter. We think there's room for the other ones to compete more directly. Leather was more behind than Sharpshooter, so it got double buff on both its base and upgrade. And the extra 50 gold means that you can sneak an extra potion in there, which is definitely a good utility. But yeah, just to make them more competitive with Death's Toll and Death's Toll's upgrade.
That's interesting. And I think that like the increased basic attack power on the Sharpshooter arrows definitely potentially strong.
Yeah.
So interesting to see how that turns out. We are nerfing Dagger Frenzy. This is an item that kind of swings between buff and nerf as the patches go.
Yeah.
Because it can be really good or it can be not purchased. And it seems like it's one or the other.
Yeah, and we think right now the case that's breaking it the most is actually you rush it immediately. And because that just attack speed is so good out the gate, you get a lot of value out of it for it being a first item. We scale the damage that active provides, so we're also going to scale the attack speed now.
And that makes sense. It's like you get good. It's a good attack speed item early, but it's going to scale to its maximum potential over the course of the game.
Yep.
Makes total sense. I have Erebus. I have not seen this much in my games. I feel like whenever somebody buys it in a dev playtest, it does a lot, but I don't see it much in live.
Yeah.
Has that kind of been...
Yeah, not super popular, and its overall performance hasn't been great, so we think that this is just going to help its utility out, make it so that you can utilize its effect more often.
And Polynomicon, we are nerfing it by adding a cooldown.
Yes.
What have you done to my Jungle Athena build?
It's going to have... I think we're still figuring out what the cooldown value is, so you can see that's that's the please fill in this number of the doc. The goal is just to make it actually have a cooldown. Its effect is a lot stronger than Hydra's Lament.
Yeah.
It is contributing to a lot of, like, there's some mages that are basically kind of outbowling the rest of the pool just because they happen to be better poly users. And so making a cooldown just kind of evens it out across the board. We can even potentially make it more powerful again now in regards to its actual proc strength, because you're not able to chain as like Merlin a whole bunch of cool abilities back to get a whole bunch of poly procs.
Very cool. Soul, fix her disapparate, where towers would continue to shoot her while she was immune.
Yeah, this can actually be used to tank towers for an abnormally long amount of time. And in Smite 1, they just don't target her because she has disappeared from the battlefield. She actually like doesn't even heal in the fountain when she is she can't buy in the fountain, I think, also because she's actually not touching the fountain volume.
Interesting.
Like, she's like really
she's
out
like
of the
gone.
place. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just kind of going to match that behavior.
And would the tower shots like stack up waiting to hit her, or would they would just disappear?
I think they're just hit immune.
Interesting.
So they just disappear.
Yeah, that's pretty good then. Aladdin buff. Do you want to pull up your other image?
Yeah,
while we
so
do?
let's pull out the other.
Go back to us for a second while I
image.
switch to that. Okay,
So,
I believe this is the one.
To reiterate the goals of, and also this will be some. We'll talk about a few things here, but just to reiterate the goals of the Aladdin change. One was his ranked performance was too good, especially at the very, 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 very top tier play. The second thing was his overall casual performance as the character was really, really, really low. He had some of the lowest pick rates. He had some of the lowest win rates. You can see like in some cases he's even getting sub 40, and that's like, this is like all casual modes combined. Like on that day he actually was like sub 40% win rate, which is really bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
That's atrocious. So we wanted to get him to a place where his overall ranked performance and casual performance were closer to each other. And also just make him more approachable, that people could actually pick him up and see some reasonable amount of success.
Yeah.
So that green line is patch day. That's the day we made our changes.
Yes.
And you can see that after that in casuals, we have a pretty reliable, steady jump. Again, you can see based off all the previous days, this varies wildly. And this is why sometimes we have to wait a while to see the data. When we say we're waiting to see the data, we can have a random day where the character just spikes up at 4%.
And
so
it's the same thing with like new players or player retention. Like you can have one day where it's like, wow, everybody stuck around today. I don't know why. It's just random, you know.
Yeah, there's just random fluctuation. So this isn't even as much data as I'd like to be super confirming things, but you can see that generally, some of the best days he's had in the last month, this is about a month wait of time, have been in just this week alone. His overall play count has gone up this week alone.
Yeah, quite a bit.
In ranked, his play count has gone up this week alone, and his performance in ranked has become a lot more steady and even over the course of the time. And one thing that I haven't done here, which is filter out just for top ranked, Smite Brain actually does a really good job of this. You can go look at that now. Aladdin went from being like a 60% win rate character to something like 52 in that one.
Which is closer to where you'd want to be.
And that's actually... Smite Brain is interesting because I think they're pulling from Tracker GG. And so when they ask for like an Obsidian plus like rating, that's not a match that had all Obsidians plus in it. It is that player played, and that player could play against people who are slightly lower than that. And so that actually has a bias towards being like win rates are escalated for characters that are overperforming. Like Bologna, I think on there has like a 60% win rate right now, but that's for that specific tier player. And those characters tend to be spiked up. Bologna is probably closer to like 52, 53 over the course of like the whole game average. So you get some really interesting data here. But I would say that this generally has been pretty successful. More people are trying out Aladdin. More people are being successful with Aladdin. His ranked performance and his casual performance are a lot closer aligned, which means that we can now do something like buff him.
Woo! We're actually going to get to buff Aladdin. This is crazy. Okay, I'm going to go back to us real quick so I don't spoil anything while I go back to the actual...
And I know I did poke the bear about API access. I know that's a much more complicated issue about providing API access
I wish
stuff.
it was easier.
I wish it was easier because we actually do like you guys building out tools. It's just not a trivial thing to provide support
I ask this question every few weeks, and then I get sad, and then I try to make it happen, and then I get sad.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
We want you guys to have access to be able to run these types of queries because it is just people when people have like I've been able to do a lot more data diving over this last 2 weeks than I have basically ever been able to, and it's just cool to be able to see what I can come up with and what data and questions I can ask. Other people are going to be able to ask more interesting questions or figure out more interesting things. So it'd be great to have that access. So Aladdin buffs.
Aladdin buffs. Genie's Lamp. We're decreasing the stats from item base from 1 to 0%. But we're increasing the stats from items per level from 0.04 to 0.06, which means that at level 1, you'll have slightly less stats, but at level 20, you'll have 3% more stats.
Yeah,
So,
and this is mainly to help the case where if you are still holding on to the lamp in the later stages of the game because you still want to save like a revive wish or a power wish, you're not as punished for not having the item in your inventory. To make it like perfect, it'd be like an 18% would be actually like pure efficiency. 15% is probably closer to being like standard item because you've obviously bought the perfect stats that you want. So when it's perfectly itemized to fit you, it's going to be better. 12 puts that still a little bit low where I don't think you want to be holding on to this forever, but it's going to make that pain point a lot less bad.
cool. And we're also increasing the damage on the 3, the Agile Run, by 40% at the high end, but the same at the base. So by ranking it, you're actually going to get quite a bit more damage. Increasing the Genie damage, again, this is kind of throughout, so gives you more incentive to recast it, I guess. Increase the Genie strength scaling from 25 to 40%, increase the Genie int scaling from 15 to 20%.
Yeah.
So more of a valid use for your Genie charge, I guess.
Yeah, and that's we had to nerf that a lot because you could always combine that knockup with the follow-up ability of another ability. Now that if you are choosing to use that knockup, you're not going to be able to immediately follow it up into Genie punches as easily. We think we can bring a lot more power back to this ability that we previously cut.
Makes sense. Bologna, she's really good.
Yeah,
So
she
we're
is still
nerfing her.
really good.
This is the second patch in a row
Second
that
patch.
she has gotten nerfs.
We saw the plates that we did not target the right thing. So one thing we're doing is Scourge. We're decreasing the heal. So this will actually matter a lot in the laning phase. This is going to be a pretty significant hit to her sustain. And the second thing we're doing is her ultimate brings just a lot of passive strength to a team fight that's often actually kind of invisibly felt. And so basically we're just making it like one rank worse the whole way through and making the protection scaling less impactful there and how much it provides to a team.
Yeah, and you can see there it's basically like the new max was previous one rank there, and we kind of added a new rank in front. Cool. Well, hopefully the scourge of the battlegrounds Bologna will be a little bit more in check after this update.
It is just funny seeing like our balance lock because like I haven't done the pass yet to actually put like 3 next to Scourge, and the color coding is what we've actually implemented in the engine right now so that we know like because if both of us are editing it, it's just fun to see that out right now.
Kerberos, one of my favorite characters, getting a little bit of a buff, increasing the base damage on his 1 by 15 across all ranks. And on his 3, decreasing the health of the souls that you spawn, removing the soul health regen, and decreasing the cooldown of the 3.
Yeah, so more base damage is just going to be generically good. The soul health means that I believe what this is going to do is make it easier for you to kill.
Yeah.
It's not actually changing the heal value. It's just changing your ability to kill them.
Yeah.
So if you can't just go chomp them, because I think chomp still just one-shots them, you have a better chance of actually killing them on your own. And you're going to have a lower cooldown on that ability, which means you can engage more frequently, that's probably the biggest buff on this list.
Yeah, very cool. And also, I guess it's good for the aspect because it makes it easier to farm souls for your if you're using the aspect. Daji, still good, I understand.
Yes.
We're going to be nerfing her, and the passive is getting decreased strength scaling from 7% to 5%. The horrible burns, her 1 is getting decreased bonus damage scaling from 3% to 2%. And her aspect, the 1 will get decreased lifesteal from 20 to 15%. The 1,000 cuts, her 2, will get increased cooldown from 11 to 7, staying at 11 throughout.
Yep.
And her trickster spirit, her 3, will give you decreased attack speed, scaling from instead of scaling from 30 to 50, it will now scale from 20 to 40.
Does that, Clumsy, since you're here, I actually don't know. Does that mean that that doesn't hit the breakpoint anymore? Which I think that's a pretty substantial nerf, right? The attack speed. But yeah, basically,
I would assume, yeah.
Daji base version, pretty good, not crazy. So small nerf there. Aspect definitely much better. So we're doing a lot more of our focus on the aspect adjustments.
Cool. Iset, also still good and getting more nerfs. Her passive will have decreased bonus damage scaling from 10% to 7.5%. Her Dispel Magic 3 will have increased cooldown. It was 14 seconds flat. Now it will be 16 seconds, scaling down to 14 seconds. And her Aspect Wind Gust will have some amount of decreased base heal.
Yes.
Number TBD.
Number TBD, but that's the goal we're going for. Is her base performance is still too good. Aspect is still definitely better. So the first nerfs hit both of them, and then one additional aspect nerf to make sure that the aspect is also hit a little extra hard.
Awesome. Hades, we are buffing him, which is fun to see. It's been a while. He is getting increased base health, increased health per level, and his level 20 health will basically be an extra 200 free health now.
Yes.
And Death from Below, his 1, he's getting increased intelligence scaling on from 75% to 85%. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so we want him to be more solidly in the I am a bruiser mage, tanky mage style of play, and the base stats do just not support that style of play. So we want to make sure that that's first and foremost. He's a character that needs to go in, be in the middle of things. Yeah. His ult literally requires it, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to
just stand there going, whoa.
And these are the types of adjustments that are going to be quite noticeable overall, especially as you get later on in the game, but won't impact his early game too much because he can become a really quick solo lane terror. Yeah. And then Death from Below, if you are going the more high-risk mage burst style play, we want to reward that more directly. There's probably a world where we look at Hades and look at an aspect for him where we focus a bit more maybe on like separating out these play styles some more. But until then, we want to try and support the two styles of Hades play.
Cool. Hunbots, nerfing my boy. It's all right. Infused Strikes, his passive, decreased the strength per stack from 3 plus 0.25 per level to 2 plus 0.2 per level.
Yeah, just the free stats he's getting ends up being quite a lot over the course of his kit, and so we just want to take that away and have him more focus on getting the getting item stats.
It makes sense. Now I won't be able to do my full tank Hunbots wreck lobbies anymore. Jormungandr, he's getting a shift. We're decreasing his base in-hand power from 24 to 20.
Yep.
His passive will have decreased max health scaling from 8% to 6%. What is the max health scaling on his passive?
So that is when you get you build up poison on them, and when it
the free damage.
It's that burst damage that occurs.
Okay. And World Serpent, every enemy god hit with this ability provides a stacking protections buff. From 10 to 18 Omni Protection, stacking 4 times, lasting 6 seconds.
Yep. And so the goal, Jormungandr is very much a lane bully right now. That seems to be where he's most successful. But we see that if that laning phase doesn't go quite as well, and even if it does go well, he just doesn't bring as much to the late game unless he's playing like pure damage. He doesn't feel like he's successfully able to play that kind of like tanky frontline, I'm just kind of in your face style of play. So we're taking down his ability, like his lane clear. But we wanted to give him something so that, especially in the late game when you ult through a whole enemy team, you can come out of that with a pretty substantial protection buff that'll let you stay in the middle of the enemy team as well.
And so this buff, does the 6 seconds start from the moment you hit or from the end of your ultimate?
Good question. That's something that probably has not been fully decided.
Okay.
The way that I probably would have implemented it, but because it's yellow, we haven't yet, is when I hit a god, I apply the buff, and so it'll be from the last time you actually hit a character. But I think it would be better to do it at the very end based off the amount of gods you hit.
Yeah, I think that would just be a better feel,
That
right?
is just a better feel. Because if you hit someone at the very start and then miss, you'll leave that with like a 2-second thing.
Yeah, my standard Jormungandr ult experience. Cool. All right, talking about Kali. She's getting buffed. She's been good in the past, so it's interesting to see her get a buff.
Yeah, so I think it's worth saying Kali and Bari are probably like two characters that had a very similar path where they were just ranked monsters for so long.
Yeah.
And we had to nerf. And finally we nerfed them to a point where people went, oh, wait, no, they're bad now. And then they fell off.
Okay.
They absolutely fell off a cliff. So
we have realized that they are bad now.
So Kali's getting a buff and Bari is getting a buff.
Awesome. Bari was one of the lower win rate characters in the game in this most recent update. Yeah. So Kali, her increased base damage on her nimble strike, from 65 to 265 to 70 to 290. So quite a bit of top range there, or top end damage. And increasing the bleed damage on her 2 from 5 to 25 to 10 to 30. So 5 extra bleed damage.
Yeah, which I think that ticks 6 times. So that's actually a pretty substantial buff in regards to its base damage. So a little bit of early pressure when you actually hit your lash successfully, and then nimble strike, especially in the late game you're using offensively, you just get some base damage on it. This should just help Kali be a better assassin in general.
Cool. Mercury's getting a nerf. His special delivery 3 will now throw after a minimum of 0.133 seconds. If you attempt to cancel before, it will throw at the 0.133 seconds time.
Yeah.
So you can no longer insta-throw, punch, kill.
Yeah. It'll actually be delay, which means people can actually beat it, so they won't like get thrown and then try to reaction beads you and be in the air from that throw. Like, you actually have a reaction time window now.
Makes sense. Mulan, Ilphasian, are you here? There is a fix/buff to Mulan. Her grapple. The projectile traveled too slowly. This was a parity issue with SMITE 1. Time to reach max range has gone down by 0.18 seconds.
Yeah, so the projectile on the 3 just travels faster now. Someone posted a video of it side by side. Yeah, the projectile traveled slower. I looked at it. Yep, it was configured to be slower. So this makes it match. And then when you actually pull and go to slash someone, I made a small adjustment there so that slash feels like it's more in time with when you get to the target.
Sweet. Pele. You're buffing Pele.
No, poor Clumsy. He synced to the wrong PTS.
Oh, rip.
He probably synced to the old one.
Yeah, you have to do that again.
Oof.
Pele. She's going to be increasing the fuel regained from her for her Pyro class and increasing the initial damage strength scaling from 55 to 60%. And her Eruption increasing the inner ring strength scaling from 60 to 65 and the outer ring strength scaling from 40 to 45.
Yeah.
From my personal experience, Pele seems good. She's not good?
She is also struggling. She is in that kind of same bucket of characters that, like, especially after the Aspect release where she was really strong there, we did a lot of nerfs to her because she was performing both well in Aspect and non-Aspect. And those just kind of added up to a point where she ended up falling off in a pretty bad way. We want to bring back a lot of the more offensive capability of her, not too much on the Aspect side, because the Aspect is one that can, like, really quickly flip in a way that's, like, really hard to deal with.
For sure. Princess Bari, shift goal is to overall buff. Her passive will now be providing increased strength, scaling from 10 to 60 instead of 7 to 49. Increased intelligence, scaling from 15 to 105 instead of 15 to 90. Her warding gust, her 2, will have increased intelligence scaling, going from 60 to 80. And her reverent steps, her 3, will have decreased strength scaling from 75 to 45 and increased intelligence scaling from 55 to 70. So it seems like we're going a lot harder on the int Bari play style here.
Yeah, so the strength build, the strength increase from Mystic Surge will hopefully offset the 3, because the 3 with a high strength build was just a lot of damage because it considers your basic attack damage as well. And that double dipping there was one of the big pain points for her release. If you're going the inside, that feels a bit more justified because that is like it more feels like an ability damage. So hopefully those two kind of cancel out each other for the strength side of things. And then the inside of things can really shine by having just significantly more scaling. The 2 and the 3 are actually pretty low damage sources, especially in that build. So bringing them up here are going to just help her feel like she can actually get some burst off.
People say they see raw, so let's scroll down. A nerf/revert question mark?
We're not sure if we're going to ship this yet, because we actually just need to see if this even works still.
Okay, so we're going to look into this. But the idea is that Divine Light has 2, Solar Rays can now proc ability item effects again on each hit, but we will decrease their strength from 100 to 50% using that tech that we have now. And then Solar Blessing, the 3, decreasing the heal from 10 to 46 to 10 to 38, but increasing the intelligence scaling per tick from 30 to 35.
And that is the damage of the, like the heal doesn't have intelligence scaling.
Okay, so just the damage. Okay.
And so yeah, we actually removed its ability to proc a whole bunch of item effects because it was having interactions with Shield of the Phoenix.
In particular, that was a lot.
And so now that we have the tech, I think it takes a bit of work. We have to do a little bit of refactoring. I was looking into this before I came on. But I believe we can support now bringing back the item procs, but using the Yorm style of it does reduced proc rate or proc strength. So we can bring that style of play back and tune it the way that we need to.
The duality of chat, the 2 posts next to each other are don't ship it and ship it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then ship it, but add an execute.
Yeah, love it. Shibalanke nerfed yet again. Decreasing the damage on his branching bola from 10 to 50 to 10 to 30, and decreasing the range that the split projectiles will travel from 4.8 to 3.5 meters. And on his ultimate, decreasing the attack speed from 20 to 52 to 20 to 40%, and decreasing the movement speed from 20 to 60 to 20 to 40.
Yeah, he is still overperforming generally among the hunters. He's kind of like a solid step up from everyone else. His aspect has definitely fallen through quite a bit. We probably will want to look at that aspect at some point, but we know that like that has some frustrations with like the double poison darts being just kind of hard to deal with. But his base overall version of himself is really, really good still. So this should just tone him down and bring him more in line with the rest of the hunters.
Sweet. We talked about this on the last show, but a couple conquest changes. Base teleporters will now automatically cancel your teleport if the tower that you're teleporting to is being destroyed. Is this just don't put people in bad situations, or
don't put people in bad situations? I think this also built in some future tech that we wanted for something else, but this is like, it does feel weird to like be teleporting to tower and then you destroy it and then someone just kind of pops up there. So it just means that like you won't be in the middle of a fight and you won't get, it also means that they can't just immediately join a fight. Like if you kill the tower, you can see someone coming down and you kill the tower, they actually won't be able to get to that fight, which feels like it's good of a reward for
I kind of like that. It does let you kind of counterplay that people are coming. I get that.
Yeah.
And then Pyromancer, we've removed the automatic structure damage when you kill Pyromancer. But now runic bombs can no longer be destroyed by basic attacks, and they bypass backdoor protections.
Yeah, the goal with this change is we want objectives to feel good for having killed, but like we also want the people who kill them to kind of have an understanding of what they're doing. So it's twofold. One is you kill Pyromancer. You already did the hard thing that we were rewarding you for. The runic bomb is like the kind of icing on the cake. So you can go take it and blow up a tower. When it gets destroyed immediately because 3 people happen to be auto attacking in that direction, it just kind of cleave died. That doesn't feel as good, or like that doesn't make the reward feel as great. So this will just make that reward feel more consistently good.
Oh, ads.
No.
I really need to get the login stuff from Hinderman. I never think about it until I'm in the middle of the show on Monday.
Unfortunate.
Apparently it's a puppy though, so that's exciting.
Yeah, what ads did everyone get?
Yeah, brutal ads. Remember that old game, Brutal Legend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was not bad. What do I think of the Savannah Bananas / Banana Ball? I will answer dumb questions while we're on ad break.
What is this?
Oh, you don't know the Savannah Bananas?
No.
Okay, so it was an independent league baseball team that went all in on kind of being the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
Oh, is this the one that has like the guy on the stilts?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I have seen it. I did not know they were called the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, so because they're based in Savannah. So yeah,
cool.
And before they started traveling, the world. But no, I think it's a lot of fun. I think that baseball has a lot of tradition to it. I think that there's a lot of good that goes with that tradition, but I think that there's also room to have fun with the game that makes it more accessible to a new audience, right? Yeah. And I think that like they just have a good time with it, and they've got crazy cameos in different games, and the rules are different too than regular baseball. So each inning is an individual game, and it's who wins the most innings wins the match.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's not like if I have like an 8-run inning, then the game's kind of over. It's like, no, you just won that one inning with your 8-run inning, and now we're on even ground for the rest of the game, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
And then another just kind of fun fan rule is if somebody in the stands catches the ball, it counts as an out. So it gets the audience involved, you know?
That's fun.
Yeah, but then if they drop the ball, then imagine in real baseball, people would like.
I would actually
lose their
probably
minds.
want to go see that more than a regular baseball game. That just sounds fun.
It is. It's a really fun version of the game. You know, I don't think it's quite as competitive, you know, as regular
Sure.
baseball, but I think there's lessons that real baseball should take from it.
It was funny. I was a Diamondbacks fan, and there's one game when I was like actively watching them a ton. They got absolutely obliterated. It was like
Yeah.
20. It was like one of the worst performing games they ever had, and they went through so many pitchers that eventually they brought out like one of like their shortstop
Yeah.
pitch just
Yeah.
because. And one of their pitchers had this thing where they do like this, and then they'd sit here like this, and then do like a big snap to like face
Yeah.
the mound. And so the pitcher that came in did that. So like they were like,
They
we
were having
lost
fun
so
with it.
bad
Yeah.
that we're just gonna turn this into a comedy. To try
That's
to be
funny.
entertaining.
Sweet. Okay, we are through the ad break with our baseball monologue.
Yeah.
So Pyromancer, we were talking about basically have to basically making sure that you actually get value out of your runic bomb. It doesn't accidentally die.
Yeah, and the goal is Pyromancer was the hard thing. You grouped up as a team to kill it. You should have the reward for it.
Yeah.
And the reward doesn't just happen automatically to where you don't notice. Like you're dealing damage to the other structures is like one of those things that you actually might not even notice is even happening. So this makes it a bit more deliberate in what you're doing.
Cool. And that is what we have on the balance document for today so far.
We might add some things. I did
Because we're still like over a week from the patch coming out, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's not patched tomorrow. Normally go through balance, you know, kind of the day before or a couple days before. But
Yeah.
this is, you know, we have Thanksgiving this week, and then it'll be out the following Tuesday.
Yeah, and I am here tomorrow. I know a few of us are also working tomorrow as well. So if there are things that like people are like, oh no, we've totally missed, definitely just send us a note and we'll try and make sure that it's in. Again, this patch is just generally smaller because we have some stuff banked for 25 and Thanksgiving, but
Yeah, and Thanksgiving. And somebody says nerf poly. We did nerf poly. We're adding a cooldown to poly.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And we don't know what that cooldown is yet.
We'll
It could
see.
be 2, it could be 10. It's probably going to be close to Smite 1's. I think Smite 1 was 8.
Was it 8? That sounds about right. Yeah. Do you want to look at your matchmaking stuff now, or do you want to do something else?
Sure. We can do the matchmaking.
I don't have the words on them. Do you remember what the order was you sent them to me?
One has arena at the bottom, and the other one is conquest. And then I didn't bring the other ones.
Should I start with the arena one then?
Yeah, we can start with the arena one.
Do you want to preface it at all, or should I just pull up some images?
I'll preface it a little bit. Okay,
Okay.
so we actually mentioned kind of as like a passing that we were working on trying to do some matchmaking stuff, and it's been one of the things that like I've been just kind of working on with Jordan and some of the people on Rally here, trying to find ways to especially speed up matchmaking without hurting quality.
Yes.
That's kind of the main primary goal. Because this was one thing I went and played Smite 1. I actually got matches faster than I was in Smite 2, and I was like, that feels weird.
Yeah,
to
there's
me.
something wrong because there's
Something
less
wrong.
people playing Smite 1, so why are they getting faster matches?
Yeah, right. So we did some adjustments to essentially relax some of the. There's the pure matchmaker that just goes, I'm trying to make a quality match, and I'm going to only wait this long before I start trying to lower the threshold of matches because we want to get people into matches. That's like the main thing that controls the queue. But there's a separate side rules that we have that can do things like we only allow a 10 player level difference, or we only allow a party differential of this size, or it can even do like really weird stuff about the rules that were there. And we think that the rules were being too restrictive, and we're actually doubling up on what the matchmaker was already trying to do. Like it was also filtering out matches it would make by rank, but that's also what like the matchmaker is already doing. So that doubling up was probably just actively harming its ability to make matches than being super helpful. So we have some data about how that's gone, just because it's interesting. So let's bring up Casual Conquest.
Oh, you want to do Conquest first? Okay.
Yeah. Or sorry, Arena. Actually, Arena's good.
You want to do Arena?
Yeah, we'll do Arena.
There we go. Okay.
Right. So the first graph is wait time. Lower is better. And this is in minutes. The second is match quality. Higher is better. A 1 is, this was a pure 50-50. A 0.8 is something like one team has a 42% chance to win, while one has like a 58% chance. It's still pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
You'd have to play 10 matches to actually notice the difference in that, but like that's roughly the threshold. So you can see that Arena is anywhere from 0.8 and 0.9. That's like the average, right?
Yeah.
So you can see at the top, we have waits are between 2 and 1 minute. Sometimes they spike above 2 minutes, and then they suddenly drop and stay lower. And that was our first passive experiments. So we saw a pretty substantial drop in the time for matches to happen, with overall the match quality being very similar. Some of the lows are a little bit lower, but they're generally like, I think 0.8 is like our standard of like anything above 0.8 is probably actually really, really good. And keeping above that threshold is what we think is really important. And so you can see that we actually did a really substantial cut. And then you see that weird spike where it goes back up. That was us messing up on patch day, where the changes we made to it got reverted back to the old numbers. We realized it, and then we decided, okay, well, the last round was really good. Let's try it and cut a few more of these rules that we don't think are being super helpful. And you can see that we've got even like substantially lower.
Yeah.
So this is overall a really great result. Very happy with this. It also gives us room going forward to play around with things like, what if we want to force the match quality to be a bit higher? Can we actually start to make the matchmaker a bit more strict? It'll maybe bring us back to that previous level, but we actually might be able to bump up the quality. And we need to, like, one thing that we always need to weigh is, we generally know that just getting into a match is probably the most important thing.
Yep.
If you are stuck in a 6-minute queue and you leave because you're like, I didn't find a match, you probably aren't coming back tomorrow. Versus if you get a match, matches can be wildly good or bad, even when it's a perfect match.
Because people could be playing gods they haven't played before.
Yeah, I've had playtest games where like I go and gank a lane and the gank goes bad, and I go to gank the second lane and the other jungler's there and has successfully figured out where I was going, and I'm super far behind. And that game might just end up snowballing in a really bad way where I go like 0-8, and I'm like, well, that just sometimes that happens to even the best of us, right? So there's a lot of variation there, but we think that we know that queue time is probably one of the more important factors that we want to try and drive. But this gives us room to play now, where before, if we wanted to be like, well, let's try and improve the matchmaking quality, man, we're already at like the and this is the average. Like the average is around 2 minutes. Yeah. That means someone is probably waiting for 6-8 minutes still,
which is a long time.
Which is a really long.
Whereas
time.
now it's like 30 seconds. You know, it's like it's an incredible improvement. So for the same quality of matches. So, So it's been a good improvement to see.
Yeah, and so we try to do this on all of the modes. The other modes have their own complications. So like Assault is generally less popular, so it's a bit more sensitive to things, and it's a bit more spiky in what it's doing. But we made similar improvements where the spikiness is about the same, but we were able to cut queue times there. Joust is interesting because that one actually did take a matchmaking quality hit, but it also took a really big queue time drop. But it was already like the highest matchmaking quality mode we had. So it went from being even a little bit higher than Arena to basically being around where Arena's at, which we think is, again, a fair trade-off right now. And we're still also looking into reasons why Joust might be behaving different than Arena, because the things that we did were very, very similar. And then we have Conquest, Casual Conquest.
Yep. Let me go back to us for just a second.
Yeah, and some people were asking, like, standard deviation, like how like, the average is one thing, but if we made the most extreme even worse and the least extreme even worse, like that might not be necessarily a better world to live in.
Sure.
I've done some initial looking into that, and it seems like the standard deviations aren't too crazy different. They are a little bit elevated, but they're not too crazy different. And it's one of those things that like I need to just be able to get my query updated so I can actually put that in the graph form more easily. But this is what I had to show today.
Yep.
I'm also using this as an opportunity to learn to do some of this stuff because this is not natively what I do. So I'm kind of using this as a tool to be able to learn and just be better at trying to provide information to make informed decisions about the health of the game.
And this is Casual Conquest, right?
This is Casual Conquest. So you can see that on Casual Conquest, we basically had the same result. We did some of the changes. You can see that the matchmaking quality is about the same throughout. Maybe it gets a little bit spikier in some of its lows and highs, but we're still above that 0.8 threshold, and we were able to cut the queue times. And you can see when we had the patch day where we reverted it, we had it spike back up, but we identified it and fixed it really, really quickly. So this is just a pretty good result overall. And so if you've noticed that you've gotten to matches a lot faster recently, this is why. The one thing so this is also the other important caveat is this is NA. This is NA only data. EU looks very, very similar. The other regions are a lot weirder because just the population differences between NA and EU and the rest of the regions. I think that's the next thing I want to try and start looking at is what we can do to help some of those regions with like getting more matches actually popping in that region, which again is one of those things I think that cascades where if you're able to get more matches, you're able to play, more people come in,
Yeah.
and you start to slowly build up a really good population in some of those regions. So that's like the next thing I want to start looking at as well.
Awesome. Well, good progress, and hopefully players are feeling it. We see Matharia in chat says, my arena match just popped in 30 seconds, so
yeah.
Success.
And ranked is noticeably not something I talked about. That one is interesting. We're actually waiting to run some experiments because one, that queue is configured very differently than all the other ones. It actually is 4 queues that feed into the same thing to basically handle some edge cases around parties and like very high skilled players are kind of in their own matchmaking for a little bit before they get pulled into the general populace. So like they have a whole bunch of extra rules around them. So they're just harder to modify in general than all the other queues because the other queues are actually very straightforward comparatively. But we also found a bug with ranked where basically the quality of the matches, you had a graph where the quality of matches were like between 0.8 and 0.9, and it drops to 0.7, and it stayed 0.7 for months. And then 1 week it fixed for a little bit, and then it dropped again. And we found what bug was causing that, and now we were watching it climb back up in quality as that bug has been fixed.
Yeah. So
we want to get that back to where it's supposed to be, and then we'll probably start looking at ranked because again, we think that if we can bring the queue times down overall without really hitting the match quality, that is just a good thing for the mode. It means people who queue up into it are more successful in getting in a game. If they queue up and say, I wanted to play, and then they wait long enough to go, actually, I've changed my mind, that's a really bad indicator for them coming back tomorrow. So we want to try and avoid that as much as possible while also making sure matches are still competitive and interesting.
Awesome. With that, we've gone through everything we brought to the show today. So now I guess it's a little bit of Q&A to wrap out the show.
And someone just asked, I noticed the queues have been better in arena mode. Is that system already active? Yeah, that's why the data spanned 21 days. So that's actually 21 days worth of data. We've been running the experiment for almost 2 weeks now. And we've done a few other small things. Max might be proud, and Max might also be like, oh no, they changed those numbers. No. That's why we wanted to like have the data and be really following it closely to make sure that like we aren't breaking things or we're not noticing bad trends. Like a bad trend would be, cool, we got queue times up, but what if match count dropped really bad because like people are going like, oh, actually that match is so bad I left, right? Yep. So we've been monitoring that stuff and other like queue health things to indicate that like this seems to be holding in a good holding pattern of just generally better.
People asking about whether we should implement strictly solo queue ranked matchmaking at a certain elo.
This one's tough.
It is, because I literally just got a bug report from somebody saying that we're the worst company ever because we don't allow 5-man ranked matchmaking at all times.
Bug report.
That's where people give their feedback sometimes.
Yes. It's tough. Probably the most important thing for ranked is to have the biggest number of people engaging with it, because ranked is the strictest matchmaker, which means it's the most sensitive to amount of people playing. We've gone back and forth around letting people party and letting people not party, and how does that bring more people in versus alienate people who might play if it was purely solo queue. It seems to be kind of even. I don't know if we actually have it. Like, I haven't run this query, so I don't know the answer for myself, but we've historically done variations on this, and I think we've largely came to the conclusion it didn't really matter too much. Yeah. Some people end up stop playing solo queue because of it, but you get some people who are partying in there, and they kind of are similar. I respect the ranked solo queue grind. That's the way that I generally play ranked in ranked games that I play. So I can appreciate it, but it's tough because what will happen is we turn that off, and then we're just going to have now a group of players who are really mad, leaving really negative feedback, really, really negative just sentiment overall, because we took away their way of enjoying the game. It's probably one of those things that once we decide to make a call, unless we see the data suddenly shift really one way or the other, we probably just want to stick to it. Yeah. So it's tough. I don't know if I really have a great answer right now. Just know that there's a reason why we have done party queues, because there is a group of players who do feel really served by it. And we do see that matchmaking population as a whole stays relatively consistent with it. So it's not like there's a lot of solo players still playing who still play. Like so like it doesn't seem to actually be a huge detractor for people actually playing. So it's tough though. I don't have a strong answer right now.
Yeah. And I believe one of the special rules for ranked is that it does try and have similar parties on different sides, you know, to be able to make a match. So.
Yeah, it does try and find party matches. I think, like, for example, 2-1-1-1 versus pure solo queue isn't a valid queue config. That's actually something I saw in the ranked configuration. Like, so there is some protection there to make it so that it's at least fair when it happens. And I know that trio queuing has even more restrictions. Like, that's one of its own side queues. I talked about how the matchmaker is like, it's really 4 queues feeding into one. Trio queue has its own pretty strict rules about what it does and doesn't allow.
And that can be a very long queue.
Yeah, and that is a very long queue.
Yeah.
So the odds of you being in a trio queue is probably pretty low. But yeah, it's tough to make a call there. And I know some people are going to be diehard, like the mode would be very, very much better if it was just solo queue only. And some people are like, no, parties are where it's at. And the answer is generally it serves one group of players and the amount of people in Aliens is actually not that high. And the queue is generally better when more people are there. So you just kind of optimize towards that as best you can because that's going to make the best matches for everyone overall. And 5-man pre-made versus 5-man that's like 5-man queue is one of those things that like we could allow it, but it would probably have to be with the caveat of be ready to wait potentially 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I think in that world, we would only do 5-man versus 5-man.
Yeah.
Because even 5-man versus 3-2 is going to be a miserable experience for the 3-2 in a way that is, I think, a lot worse than a 3-1-1 versus 3-1-1 would be, or like a 3-2 versus 3-2 would be.
How do we feel about 3K pots? Now that you no longer stack, you just get a 3K pot and it lasts for a certain period of time or until you die, right? It does go away when you die right now? We fixed that.
So that was actually a bug. When we change it from being this infinite, we have a thing that basically says on death, remove all things that have duration unless they're specifically tagged. And so when we gave it a duration, it wasn't specifically tagged. And so therefore it stayed, or it left, and that was bad. So that should be fixed. I think overall it's been generally pretty good. It means that tanks feel a bit more impactful in their role in the late game. We've seen that actually like stacking is one way to end the game, but it can actually delay it in other ways as well. And so tanks being able to be like the front line and actually protect their carry to live, like the thing that generally stalls out a match is actually the 2 tanks are alive at the end facing the other 2 tanks on the other team. And if your tank is able to actually stay alive long enough to protect your carry, that probably actually has the biggest impact on the ability for the game to end over just someone stacked 8 of them.
Okay. What are your feelings on int CERN? Because this has been a frequent question from one person in this chat.
I would like to revisit some of our early int strength hybrid character implementations. Int CERN is one of those ones that like I think we need to make a much more distinct play style difference. To really,
I get that.
Like, because that's one thing that like I personally like with the shifts is, do I actually play any different when I go int versus strength? And if I don't, if I'm not really prioritizing other things, does it really matter? And I think for Kurnos, you'd need like another kind of gimmick to make that work. You could just buff it. I think last I checked, it's okay. Strength is definitely more the way that people play him. So we could buff it, but it's also one of those things that like I'd rather, unless it was like more of a dire situation, I'd rather take the time to circle back to it and do a more proper pass on it. That's like same thing with like Aladdin. I wanted to do the Aladdin rework for a really long time. I just had to like actually get the time to go back and do the big thing that I wanted to do. Kurnos is kind of in that similar boat. There's a few other like hybrid scalers that I feel similarly about.
Oh, I had one, but I lost it. This one's popped up a couple times, and I saw some discourse about it on Reddit as well. Thoughts on the assault bench / reroll situation? Are we satisfied with it, or would we like to change it?
So I'll give the dev answer and I'll give my answer.
Okay.
Dev answer is, I think generally we're pretty happy with it overall. It gives people some ability to be flexible. It gives like, it fixed one of the major pain points of like, I re-rolled off a god that actually would have been really good into a really bad one. Now my team is like, oh, that would have actually been really good to still have. You can kind of fix mistakes that your team makes in regards to that. So I think it's overall good, and I think the group of people who like Assault currently tend to like having some level of control over their draft in the way they do. My answer is I want all random. I want all of it to be chaos. If we get 5 assassins against double healer, tank, mage, hunter, let it ride. That's the world that I would choose if I just was only making Assault for me. Because I think the thing to be careful of in those types of modes is if you give too much control, it detracts too heavily from the mode. Some control is probably better than none, as much as I like my 5 assassin that I'm going to absolutely get stomped on game, because it feels like playing under the circumstances is kind of the fun to me of it.
Yeah.
So some level of random's good. I think that the question we just have to ask ourselves is, are we going too far with it? I don't know if re-rolling is too far. I think the one critique that I've heard that I resonate the most with is it's probably optimal for everyone to re-roll, which I do think is a weird state to be in. But I also think that if you just started with the bench full, I think there's some level of like still risk of like, no, I actually really like I rolled something that was really, really good and I want to keep playing it. And so my team is kind of artificially nerfed in the sense of like they have one less draft to pick from.
Yeah.
That's probably a good check on Assault randomness being maintained.
Yeah. We did a lot of looking at other games and how they handle this. And yeah, the having to actually opt into re-rolling and somebody else potentially taking the god that you're on seemed like a valuable part of the bench system when we were looking at it. You know, one of the, like we talked about other systems too, like the way that HOTS does their equivalent mode is each player gets to pick from 3 gods,
right.
But that's 3 gods that are unique to you. So, you know, you don't like re-roll off of them. It's just like, here are your 3 options for this game. What do you pick, kind of thing. Right. Like there's a lot of different ways that we could have gone with it, but I think generally, you know, I agree with you that more randomness is good. But yeah, I think that like where we have now is pretty reasonable.
Someone's asking for a please buff Inkali. That's actually one thing I want to like. Technically, Inkali is getting a buff with the base damage adjustments to Lash and Leap that we're doing. Inkali, we have to be careful on because it is very, very bursty, and we've seen that type of burst can feel very frustrating. I think it's probably better as a like niche, fun play style than the dominant way to play Kali. I think that's just generally going to be healthier. And when I actually looked, like Inkali wasn't too far behind Strength Kali anyway. And again, these buffs did affect both of them. So I think that latest buff will it'll at least help.
Sunder. Thoughts?
We have talked about Sunder wanting to do more things. I don't know if we actually want to talk about this yet.
Okay, we can move on.
But I think we know that one of the complaints of I feel like I need Sunder to avoid getting invaded in high MMR games is one piece of feedback. And does Sunder actually compete necessarily with the other relic choices in a one relic world? And do people feel obligated to have it to control objectives? I like things that you feel like I get to control objectives more because I have it. Maybe a relic isn't the best place for it. But I think we're actively in discussions about what we want to be doing there.
Double Worshippers this week for the holiday. Maybe. Stay tuned. That is a Hindu man holds the keys. So we will see if he chooses to turn the keys later this week.
Wish Granting Pearl is now the only item without an active effect. I thought we had one more. Besides
we gave one of them an effect.
Yeah, Sphere of Negation got one. I did have in the same notes we did Sphere of Negation, one for Wish Granting Pearl as well. I think I do want to give it, as much as I think like there's something I enjoy about like here's the item that just gives an absolute ton of the stat that I want.
Can I give you the dumbest idea for it?
Sure.
If you buy it on Aladdin, it gives you one of your wishes back.
That'd be cool. See, I like that type of thing too, where it's like Cronus Pendant being better on Cronus would actually be really good.
It would be fun.
But it does make it like arbitrarily like you're wrong if you don't build it.
No,
that's like the only downside of it. Like that's cool in a vacuum until like you realize that you're not going to play for the next 3 years buying Cronus Pendant because you have to.
Yeah, I like giving people more choices. I was just being silly because like we have a wish in the game already. We should just lean into it.
Yeah, I think the version I pitched was like it was something along the lines of it granted you a wish based off what you needed, and it tried to like based off the last things you were doing give you some really big benefit as like an active. But like one, I didn't know if I liked that pitch, but two was like I already signed myself up for so much stuff in OB23. I did not need to sign myself up for another rework of an item. But yeah. Okay, but let Afro link to your own Typhon's pet. Sick. That'd be cool.
That would be fun.
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do. I think. No ads. No
Ads again? Brutal.
No.
Brutal.
We can bank up some questions.
Yeah. When are the discounted travelers changing? I think there's an update with every patch for that. People saying no ads for Titan Talk. Yeah, I just don't have the authority to turn them off because I don't have the login for the account. So I will do that. I will try to remember to do that for the next show I do.
Some things I'm seeing that we can talk about when we get back. The revert to the healing stolen. So Stygian healing stolen versus the healing echo thing. I think that's worth discussing.
Yeah.
Why queue timer be 6 minutes? I'd be curious to know the person's region and queue time, because there are some things I'm investigating there that are separate. And also mode, right? Like mode, region, and time are like the most important things, because there are just some regions where like if you're trying to queue at like a very like that basically like if you're trying to queue at like 4 a.m. at an NA, everyone's asleep. Like you will get a match. There are people online to get a match for, but like yeah, it's gonna be harder to make you a match. EU Arena during the day and evening. Okay, I'll take a look. It shouldn't be that long. I know that there are some queue spikes I saw in that mode that I wanted to look at, but it shouldn't be generally that bad. Non-aspect ammo buffs. We talked about doing ammo buffs. We did a previous round. It doesn't seem like it was enough. We could probably do more.
We got probably about 30 seconds left on the ads. Is Osiris aspect still too strong?
It's Osiris as a character is probably just a tad overtuned. Bologna and Yorm seem to be the ones that were more. They were like a kind of tier up from him.
That makes sense.
We could potentially add Osiris as well. He probably could survive another nerf.
And do we still use feedback from the bug report forum? We do. We look at it every day. So we definitely read it and try and track down things.
Yeah, there's one thread that was really interesting about essentially co-op AI matches and like the difficulty of the bots. And that person sent us a lot of things saying like we didn't really care, but there's like a 30+ comment thread of us actually diving into their complaints.
Yes.
Like we do look at it. I think the thing that's probably the most frustrating to players is I reported something and it doesn't get fixed for a long time. You're probably not the first person to report it, and we were also probably working on through a lot of other things too. Like, and some things just take a while to fix. Like Aladdin's AO1 CC would cancel your ability to refire it. It took time. Like I basically had to rewrite the one. And when I did a soft rework, it's like, well, if I'm going to be in the middle of this is the time to commit to it.
What do the had fun buttons after a match do? They let us know if you think the match was fun or not fun, and then we try and use the data we have about that match to determine what makes a match fun or not fun, so that we can try and make sure that you have more fun. Yeah,
Jordan's actually doing some interesting stuff on that as we were like literally this week, doing some new stuff with that data. It's just it's like one of those things like we get another point of data that we can start to try and correlate to things.
All the filters on Godlike still say solo. I thought we fixed it. What mode is that you're in? And we can take a look. And you wanted to talk about Anchor.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about Anchor. That was a question that came up. So someone mentioned that Anchor, the healing stolen was kind of anti-heal, and we went back and changed it to this healing echo. So it's you take the healing that they did a little bit, but like they still get the full healing value. And why did we change? 2 reasons. One was, I think one important thing when we're trying to do a live service game is keep communication clear, because it does not take much for people to confuse our intent. I'm trying to think of like the latest example where we talked about this. item complication.
Sure.
Right. The goal there that I thought was decently clear was we want the items to be like, I think it's more that I want the item to be able to be easily explained to someone, right? Explaining what Sanguine Lash did was very difficult. Explaining what Stygian Anchor does in a vacuum is, oh, when I deal damage to someone, I apply a debuff to them, is a lot more straightforward than I do this ticking aura that scales off lifesteal that also has this active component that does damage, but that active component I get more charges of. It's not that much hard to explain, but it's one step up.
Yes.
And there's room for those items to be there because there's some of them that have to be that way. But I think generally the items that people have fallen in love with over the course of Smite's history have been the ones that are like you can more easily identify with. So we want to be moving towards that direction. So some items will still have some complications, but I think it is a fair criticism going forward if we implement an item that's like, wow, this is doing a lot of moving pieces. I can't like the ease of explaining it is actually pretty hard here. Healing, anti-healing. I did a big pass through of anti-healing. And the goal is these healers go from being unstoppable gods to useless because there's a stat that you have to opt into to buy 50 to have it. And if you don't buy that stat, you are just doing it wrong, right? So the goal was to make healers more consistent in what they're doing. You can have healers be more consistent in what they're doing with a 20% anti-heal, right? That's a much lower number. Having it versus not having it is not going to make or break the healer in the same way that 50% would. But people, when they heard the pass, were like, no, anti-heal is just gone as a stat entirely. And I thought maybe splashing it on one item as a lower value could be fun. But that got turned into, you guys have gone back on your word. And I think there is some value in just going, I will take the L on that. And we will just try and be very clear that, yeah, at least until we decide to make a more global change and say that, yeah, we are okay with bringing back 20% anti-heals in some capacity, that, yeah, no, anti-heal is a God-specific thing. We're just going to stay there.
Yep.
Right.
Makes sense. Well, it is 2:01, so I believe it's time for one more question. As a reminder, this is our only show of the week. I believe PTS is still up, so if you want to check out PTS and give feedback on any of the stuff that is coming in the next patch, we definitely take feedback on that. It is Thanksgiving week, so we'll be out for most of the week here, but there may be some double XP or something going on. We'll have to see what goes live later this week. Keep your eye on the social media channels.
Yeah, so the question I have is, have I seen early feedback on Newt? Yes. Seems like one, she's generally pretty strong. And two, and this is one that I kind of wanted to see what people said on, is the one feels slower. That was an intended change to be able to, like, one, let the animation play out, but two, make what she's doing more readable and be able to actually put more power behind it. But I think it's one of those things where, like, I think those goals are noble, but it's one of those things that people who are very intimately familiar, it's just going to be negative to them. So I'm currently figuring out if I want to be pulling that back some, or one suggestion that I think someone had, which I think is fair, which is let it scale with attack speed so that the strength side of it can get that really rapid version of it, but the more inside of it's going to have those more deliberate slow ones. Because Smite 1's version actually doesn't scale with attack speed. It's just 0.2, 0.1, pre-fire, post-fire. We did 0.2, 0.3, so you have a little bit more delay in between each of them. Having it scale with attack speed means that you can get actually potentially faster than the rapid gun version. That could be really fun. So that's one of those things I'm currently weighing what we do on. It's always one of those really fine lines of when you adjust the feel of a character when we're bringing them over there. It can be one of those things that like just absolutely breaks the character for someone, and we want to be very cognizant when we do that to not be too aggressive with it.
Yep, makes sense. And I need a question here. Can we get active items with deployables or pickups, such as Bracer or Manticore's spikes from Smite 1? And I think that, like, theoretically it's possible. I think the question is just, do we think it's the right thing for the item, right? Because those, they can lead to the play space getting more cluttered if you have a lot of deployables that, just show up all the time. Or they can end up being really good high-end items where people know to interact with these deployables that are appearing on the ground, and really bad kind of casual items because nobody takes advantage of the things that are dropping. So
yeah, I think that the dropping ones are probably more of a chance of being successful. I think we've done like the area of power type of effects. And those tend to just not be good and or fun, even though like in a vacuum, like when we're just like in a meeting, like, oh yeah, and you do this and a big area stands, and if you stand there, you could like roll for some really big damage, right? And in practice, that just actually doesn't end up being that exciting.
Yeah.
But so that's a deployable area. It depends on what it does. I did have like when we were doing the healing pass, I had like a version. There's like the earrings from Smite 1, and I had like an idea of that being because that icon looks like hoops, and making it like a hoop thing that if you knock them off, like a hoop would fall out and they kind of roll around a little bit.
Okay,
you could go pick it up and do something. But I was like, I'm already doing so much here. That's way too much. And the idea I had for the item ended up I don't feel great about this. But like we have talked about like doing that type of effect.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today. We will see you next week, and we'll enjoy a nice week with our families. And for now, I have to find the outro button, and I will push it in just a second here. We'll see you on the Battleground of the Gods. Bye-bye.